Alright, well, hello. My name's Penguin Vito, or MLP Shmesh, depends how you know me. Um, and I wanted to upload this video of me doing my very first and only solo Grandmaster. I finally did it. It's been, in some ways, like 9 years in the making of playing Destiny, getting better, always having the dream of soloing a Nightfall. Back in Destiny 1, it was the Nightfall, which was the hard thing to do, and it eventually evolved into Grandmasters in Destiny 2. And for a while, I've just had this crazy dream of eventually proving to myself that I've obtained top tier skills in Destiny PvE by doing a solo Grandmaster strike. And what better strike to do Grandmaster than Devil's Lair, the beta strike of Destiny 1. So I was thrilled, really, to actually do this week when it was available. So right off the bat, you can see I do the Sparrow run successfully. Rough, but successfully. I actually thought I was going to die here like 1,000 other times that I've tried, but skipping this section, I used to do it, but it really saves you a good like 10-15 minutes of tedious killing, which there's a ton of tedious killing throughout the entire strike. As you can see, this video is like an hour long, so there's it's a slow grind. You know, it's extremely hard difficulty. You die in a few hits. So as you see my gameplay, I mean, I would strongly recommend having a cup of coffee while watching or something. Sit back, relax, watch the gameplay unfold, and maybe hear me out on why I want to talk about this solo Grandmaster so much. As I started out already, it is a goal of mine for as long as I've played Destiny to be able to prove that I can solo the hardest content in PvE. Yes, raids aren't really built for solo play, so I don't count them. I have done solo dungeons too, but I feel like Grandmaster is way harder than a dungeon, so this was definitely the hardest challenge for me. There was definitely a long time where I felt like this was not obtainable. I was like, do I have an impossible challenge here? And I'd have to search on YouTube, see other people playing Grandmaster solo, and be like, okay, people do it. It's possible. I don't believe how. I watch it and I still don't believe how, but it's possible. So it took a lot of practice. I'm really proud of myself for it. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was just saying a farewell to Destiny in general as a whole. I know the final DLC, whatever it's been called now, the end, whatever, of the Light and Dark saga is happening at the end. I'm not really even interested in it, to be honest. And as a Destiny veteran player, I'm sure everyone else is feeling the same. Maybe a few people are just ready to play it. Sure, by all means, play it. I'm not. I've kind of set my standards with Destiny for a while now with what I want from it and what I want to achieve from it and how I feel like I've beaten the game. And this was kind of the tippity top on my list, was to do the solo Grandmaster. So now that I've done it, I really feel safe to say farewell to Destiny. And this video is kind of just a love letter to this experience that I've been doing for about 9 years now of playing. I took a year and a half off back in, I don't even know, maybe 2018, something like that. About a year and a half off of playing Destiny. But other than that, every single year for 9 years, it's been playing this game. As it's just such a cool game. It's such a visually appealing game. Everything about it just brings up so much good memories with friends and playing with them and all the team play and the loot, of course the loot. So yeah, no, I feel like it's just, I wanted to leave Destiny not bitter, not upset with a certain state of Destiny and what's ruining it and all these other negative things that are surrounding it as a whole, unfortunately. There is a lot of negative around it. I wanted to leave on a good note, and I wanted to leave in my own standards of how I feel. Not what the game tells me if I've mastered everything or not, but how I feel if I've mastered it. And so I set these standards, and I've done it. And so I want to talk about it, because that's all my channel's really for. It's not really for views. It's for memories of video games that I enjoy. Of course, this is like, what, the 4th video of Destiny that I've put out here, which ratio-wise is huge for my channel, as I don't put much videos out. So yeah, it was crazy. Playing through this was a lot of fun, and I would actually say, now doing it, you know, I probably wouldn't have said this a month ago in the middle of feeling defeated and like I could never do it, but it gave me probably the best experience I've had in Destiny, going through a Grandmaster solo. And I'll tell you why. I play Dark Souls games. I play Neo games for the challenge. Those games are extremely hard combat-wise. Um, Especially Dark Souls is notoriously known for being unforgiving. The game does not care about you, and you're kind of just in its world trying to overcome these hard challenges. And I would say, as Destiny's a pretty casual game altogether, these Grandmasters, when you solo them, give you a Dark Souls feel, as in the way of the game does not care if it's fair. It does not care about you. It doesn't care if you have the coolest exotic. It does not care if you made your build or not. It does not care. And you will feel that again and again as you play it. They just, excuse my French, but they shit on you all the time. And every time you play, you're just like, man, why would I ever do this? This is so hard. But that's the feeling I get in Dark Souls games. And once you overcome it, it's such a good feeling. Something in your brain just clicks and you're like, wow, I trained myself to do this, and you overcome the challenge that felt impossible. I got that feeling with Dark Souls all the time, and surprisingly enough, I got that feeling with Destiny by doing this challenge. And really only this challenge have I ever felt literally like I cannot do it. Even when I soloed the dungeon, the prophecy dungeon, it was a good challenge. It was a healthy challenge. It was tough. I had to try a few times, but I definitely did not feel hopeless or like the game does not care about me to the level of a Grandmaster. Like a Grandmaster feels like Dark Souls for sure. And so I would encourage anyone to, if you're trying to find a reason to end Destiny, or you're tired of it and you really love this game as much as I have, like throughout the years, and you kind of want to have a farewell to it, I would strongly recommend working towards a solo Grandmaster. You know, pick a strike that means something to you. Of course, Devil's Lair to me meant something to me for sure as the beta strike of Destiny. And just work towards that and beat that for yourself, and I think you would be able to wrap up a game that you've committed so much of your life into and enjoyed for so long. I think it would really make you feel good about it, like what I've experienced now. So that's my 2 cents on that. These Grandmasters, they're pretty cool. They're slow. It really kind of, it almost breaks the game in a lot of ways. I find the combat in it is so tight. You die so fast, which in any other part of the game isn't like that. And so I find like a lot of builds or perk rolls that you might consider really good weapons are kind of like not operational in a Grandmaster, depending on your gameplay, I guess. But you really kind of have to be way in the background doing all this slow damage like you can see me doing here. And that's like the opposite of how I like to play my video games. I'm always like the dual dagger guy, jumping in, getting the up close and personal damage, and then opting out. Kind of like Bloodborne. I really like Bloodborne for that. But in this Grandmaster, you really can't do that. I tried that before in a Arc Hunter build with like the melee, a high damage melee, and you go invisible with whatever that exotic helmet's called. But it doesn't work in a Grandmaster. It just doesn't. They do too much damage to you. So it really kind of pulls you into, okay, what weapons actually work in a Grandmaster? And so that's where, you know, I see a lot of people do 2 primaries. It's just because you'll run out of ammo. You know, you might not. I find in this strike it's pretty generous on ammo. I don't think you would if you had like a special. I definitely didn't run out of heavy, which was nice throughout it, but I was definitely reserving it for specific champion interactions, right? So 2 primaries is definitely nice. I was happy to finally find a bow that I like too. I usually do not like bows. I'm not a big bow guy. I like my guns. But you can see I'm using Trinity Ghoul here as my secondary. And the reason why is I started using it in practice before this Grandmaster came available, and I was really enjoying the catalyst for it, where it's like jolt shot on a bow, which is just absolutely insane, and it feels really good. And I ended up feeling really confident in it, which is a big part of Grandmaster difficulties. You got to feel confident with the equipment you're using, 100%. You can see also I'm using Void subclass. It's not even the Surge, so I'm missing out on a good 20-25%, whatever it is, damage increase if I use Strand or Solar, I think it was. But I didn't care, because what I felt comfortable with is my Void Warlock. I always play Void Warlock. I really enjoyed Void Warlock. I love blinking. I love using the Void Soul, especially with this season's, was that this season or last season, where the exotic arms I'm using, whatever they're called. The Warlock arms that increase your Void Soul's length of time and does more damage. Super cool exotic. It really, really advanced my gameplay, like where I could really do some hardcore stuff with the soul. So it was fun. Being comfortable with your equipment is huge in Grandmaster. You got to know your stuff. You got to know what you're doing because it's stressful, and you're focusing so hard on like what's going on in front of you because you're gonna die in like 2 seconds if you mess up or get greedy. So yeah, I don't really know what to go off with that, but here's the gameplay. Enjoy. I think I just wanted to kind of spend more of the time just talking about Destiny as a whole, the experience it was, the experience it is now. I think a lot of people feel that burnout with Destiny. There's so much loot in it now. It's so heavily loot based instead of like the stories atmosphere almost. Like, you know, Destiny 1 didn't have much of a story, but it had a whole lot of atmosphere. And, you know, when you're traveling through Venus on your Sparrow, or, you know, you encounter your first gatekeeper and like the daunting feeling of that, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of story, but there was a lot of atmosphere to it. I still remember like running that. It wasn't the priest strike, whatever it is, like the fallen priest one, but it was the other one where you go on board of a ship, and this was back in B1, so it was pretty cool to go on a fallen Kel's ship, and it was this whole like going through the ship, and kind of felt piratey before the whole pirate season happened in B2. And I remember that was just so atmospheric to me. I really loved doing that strike. I ran that strike all the time, not because it was a grind for a certain weapon, but it was because I just loved experiencing that atmosphere. And I feel like slowly over the years, you know, Destiny's kind of faded away from atmosphere and more about the loot grind. Like, the only reason why I'll do the strike now is for a certain gear, not because I just genuinely love the atmosphere of it. And it took me a while to kind of question myself on that kind of stuff, and that's where I wrapped around to Devil's Lair. This strike means something to me. Atmospherically, memories. It's such a tight, awesome strike. Compared to any of the new stuff that's been out, I feel like the other stuff just doesn't grab me the same way. The loot might be good, but I don't feel like playing that stuff because it just doesn't give me the atmosphere that this had given me in D1. So I think that's interesting too. It's interesting to think about. But, yeah, Destiny in general. There's loot out there. There's so much loot out there that I feel like you do have to kind of filter out a lot of the crap and ask yourself, what are you really looking for, right? What are you lacking in? Because once I have Trinity Ghoul, I don't care for another exotic bow. Why? Because I love Trinity Ghoul. This thing is optimal tier for me. I love it. I love the Volt Shot on it. It's so cool. There's Le Monarch. It's a cool one. There's a lot of other cool bows, but for me personally, I don't need another exotic bow. This is my jam. This is the gun. Same with Randy's throwing knife as my scout rifle. I've hunted that thing down for its perfect roll, and I ended up getting it. There's a thrill in Destiny in that, hunting a perfect roll. But I feel like a lot of it really requires you to ask yourself, what are you looking for? Not what the game's telling you to do, or the game's telling you to hunt for. But you gotta narrow down and filter out all the loot and crap that's out there and activities you can waste hours on doing. And you gotta ask yourself, what am I doing this for, right? Where's your goals at? And I would encourage anyone to set the goal as doing a solo Grandmaster. It can really be a fun process, painful process, hard, defeating at times for sure, but rewarding, really rewarding. So I'd really encourage anyone to try it. It's left me with a peace of mind to say goodbye to Destiny and start new games, like Dragon's Dogma 2 coming out next year. I'm so excited for that. There's a lot of good games out right now that I'm excited to play. I'm actually playing Dragon's Dogma 1 on Switch right now, just for, I don't know, just getting back in the zone of Dragon's Dogma. I'm excited for that. Although there's Gate 3. I've heard a lot of good things about it, but can't wait to play that with one of my friends. Yeah, but I found, and I think any Destiny player kind of agrees with me on this, is when you're playing Destiny, it's hard to play other games. It's hard to focus on Destiny and play other games. It can be done. And I've had weeks where I have been able to do that, but I find I typically fall into a pattern of giving up on everything else because my mental capacity can only focus on this one game, Destiny. And I'm thinking about loot or what week it is, what day it is, if it's Zur Day or if I have to go start this strike or a certain thing to get a certain loot. And it consumes so much of my thinking space for video games. I don't play other games, or I can't enjoy the other games if I play it at the same time. So I feel like a lot of people feel that too in Destiny, and that's where I would encourage you to try to find a reason to wrap it up on the game, or just take a break. You know, a lot of people do take breaks, but for me, I really needed to say, this has been a great experience, farewell to Destiny. I really needed to say that for myself. As life's changed over the 9 years, you know, I have a kid now. My priorities have changed. My game patterns actually have changed. Like, you know, when I can play video games, what I want to do in video games, I don't really want to hunt for loot anymore. Not to this degree. And I don't do a whole lot of PvP anymore. I really want to have like a fantasy story, whether it's sci-fi or really fantasy with swords, but like, you know, a fictional story to get me through, kind of like reading a book. When I am playing games, I kind of want to be brought through a story and have my own challenges that I can fight with myself. But yeah, PvP is not really for me anymore. It was for a long time. I really enjoyed PvP competitive. But yeah, now, like, you know, at the end of the day, after being a dad, you know, you just want to sit down and just have a fun, immersive, fictional story being told to you, and maybe have some hard challenges that you brought upon yourself. So that's just me ranting, but that's kind of where I'm at with it, and that's why I'm happy to say farewell to Destiny, and not in a butthurt way. I want to reiterate that is like, I want to say I'm happy with Destiny. I'm happy with my experience for the last 9 years. There's been so many ups and downs in the game, and I've ended it on a high note. Earlier this year, I actually acquired my Vex Mythocast, however you say that name, you know, the Vault of Glass exotic. I finally obtained it earlier this year, and that was a big milestone for me too, because I mean, I remember D1 days is like all I wanted was to get the Vex Mythocast. That was the only thing I wanted, and I could never get it. I never did raids. I didn't have a team to do raids. And this year I taught myself to learn how to use LFG and learn the Vault of Glass raid. I talked to people, been taught by people, ran it several times. I don't want to think about how many times I ran it, but I know other people have ran it longer than me and haven't gotten it, so I feel lucky that I did get it. But I really had to learn the strike, had to learn the process, fighting Atheon at the end. I've really mastered that. I actually carried some people near the end when I got it, which felt really good. Felt like I grew in my skills there. So that was another milestone, but yeah, I feel like I'm just done. Like, I've checked off all my boxes in Destiny. I really have obtained everything I really wanted in this game. So yeah, I'm happy to say bye to it, and leave this video as a fun memory to think back on and look back on. And a big era, really, in my gaming history was Destiny. So, as Halo was before that. Yeah, this next part, man, oh man, it is definitely the hardest part of the strike. You just saw me going through those waves. That was fine. That was pretty high octane, you know, a lot of enemies to fight and points flying out. I gotta tell you, this next area was the hardest part. I took it very slow, as you'll see, and I did that because, oh man, 80% of the time when I've tried this Grandmaster, I've always died in this next phase. Not this little room, but right after it, there's a big opening with the spider tank, and there's so many things that can go wrong in that big open area that I was scared to death. By the time I got to that area, this run, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm gonna die from something. Something's gonna mess me up. And I was just so worried about it because it's happened so many times before. So I took it very slow. So I'm sorry. Again, I suggest anyone to have a cup of coffee and just chill and watch the gameplay at a slower rate. But no, you could even speed it up. That's a thing you can do, I guess. It's pretty slow, you know. I'm using a lot of scout rifle, distancing. As you can see, my scout rifle has kinetic trimmers. It's a great perk. You know, you land 6 shots with my scout, and it does like the pulses of kinetic damage. You'll see that happening a few times. I do that because the kinetic trimmers don't have damage fall off. So even though I'm at like across the map, if I proc that kinetic trimmer, it does like 4,000 or 5,000 damage per blast, which it does 3, I think. And all I have to do is hit that target with 6 shots of my scout rifle. And as you can see, Randy's throwing knife is a rapid fire frame scout rifle, so it shoots like a full auto, like assault rifle, but it's an scout rifle with kinetic trimmers. It was a really cool roll that I really hunted for a while. I was so happy to get. So you can see me using that a lot through this area, and why I aim to try to get those 6 shots in each enemy. It's slow though, because I mean they're across the map and I'm like trying to hit each shot. I apologize for it, but I was really scared to fail at this area. There's so many times where you can just get one-shotted in this room. I was really losing my mind over it. By the time I was done, I was like, holy crap, I'm onto the boss room. Like, I've never been this far. Like, I don't know what the boss room's like. And luckily, the boss room went well. It was actually easier than this room. I found the boss room was pretty cool. I'm not going to spoil what happened near the end of that boss room fight, but I gotta tell you, it was a very Dark Souls-y moment for me, which I thought was super funny. Like, a classic Dark Souls thing could have happened at the end of this boss fight when I entered the boss room with Sepix Prime. But for now, it's this slow, big open room. I'm kind of wondering if I'm going to speed through this in my video editing. I've been kind of debating on if I would. I might just fast forward a bit. I don't know if people want to really watch this, but I think I will leave it in its raw form, so it's available for me as a memory. And then anyone who's watching, you know, you're totally welcome to just speed up the multiplier there through this area till you get to the boss fight. So feel free to do that. So yeah, I mean, this is a good chance for me to kind of just sit back, have my coffee too, watch the gameplay, and talk about Destiny really as a whole. Just when I think of and reflect on Destiny as a game, man, the first thing that comes up to my mind is The Dark Below. When that dropped, I remember Destiny when it came out, it was, you know, very bare and like where the story would go, right? It was very just like open-ended with the story. And I remember Dark Below was the first DLC or update. I think they called it a DLC. Whatever it was. It was the first time the story kind of went in some kind of direction. Because everything was kind of just touched on. Everything was just kind of an open-ended thing of, what's this? What's that? What do you mean you don't have time to explain? And then the Dark Below came out, and it was like, oh, the Hive is the focus, at least for now, right? And it introduced us a whole lot to like the very beginning fundamentals of who the Hive are, what they do on the moon. I believe it was mainly on the moon, but it was definitely Hive focused, and brought the Crota raid, the original Crota raid. And anyone who's played the new updated Crota raid would probably be unaware, but the original Crota raid actually had a weapon called the Black Hammer that dropped, and that was a sniper, legendary sniper. And they ended up, because it was so good, they ended up making it into the Whisper of the Worm exotic sniper rifle. So if you're wondering where that came from, it came from the original Crota raid. But yeah, so like, I mean, the game started going in the direction of the Hive, and I think that always stuck with Destiny fans. I think that's why the Witch Queen did so well. I think that's part of the reason why Taken King did so well. Taken King as a whole is phenomenal. That's not the only reason why it did so well, but I think there's something to the Hive because of the original concept that our story kind of went in that direction. That everyone kind of has a soft spot for the Hive story of like, you know, the light and darkness, and we're going into these creepy Hive guys and fighting them, right? Of course, after that there was I don't know what the Wolves or something DLC, or the Fallen DLC, whatever that one was. And they went through, you know, the direction of now we're going into the Fallen and what they mean and stuff, and that was cool too. But I feel like there was something about the Hive in the original thing. I think Destiny's story as a whole, when I look back on it now, actually is not so bad. I think they do very well with these kind of side stories into their enemy themes, right? Like there is the Hive focus. If you played Destiny 1 and just followed the Hive stories, I think it would be actually a pretty interesting story, going from the Dark Below to, I guess, Taken King, and after doing the Crota raid, and then going into Witch Queen. I think it's all pretty nice pieced together, pretty interesting. Same with the Fallen, you know, the Fallen and they're lost their light and they're always trying to get back their power. You know, you got your, whatever the Fallen DLC was, Wolves, House of Wolves, I think is what it was called, yeah. And then it goes to, I think Rise of Iron is what it's called, the last DLC in Destiny 1. It was all about Siva splicing, and the Fallen have gotten hold of this power of the Siva, and were splicing themselves to be extra powerful. That was so cool. Cosmodrome was like all snowy and spliced up. It was such a cool thing. Anyway, and then they had the raid there, Wrath of the Machine, I want to say it was, where the Fallen captain spliced himself beyond belief. Super cool themes. And of course, then we have Beyond Light, where the Fallen have now obtained stasis power, and then they're trying to make themselves better. I think the stories as a whole are actually really interesting when you branch into the different enemies. I was going to say weapons, not weapons. Enemies. Of course, then there's the Red War with the Cabal. I thought that was pretty cool. I think Destiny 1 did a lot of good with Cabal in general, with like, there was a lot of legionary captains and stuff in Strikes, I believe, if I remember. Like, there was a lot of names dropped with like who's in command, and I thought that was really cool. Of course, there's the exotic mission, Vox Obscura. That one's really cool. Cool Cabal themed story. So yeah, overall, other than Lightfall and, you know, a couple hiccups, I'd say, you know, the stories in Destiny are pretty cool and atmospheric and totally tie in. I was happy with Witch Queen. Yeah, I was happy to end on that. My buddy Isaac, got to talk about him for a second. He was a solid Titan main. We started playing mainly together after Forsaken, actually. He was playing a little bit of Rise of Iron originally, I think, but we ended up like full on playing with each other a lot during Forsaken DLC. As he was a Titan and I was a Warlock, and our synergy together just was phenomenal. We did a lot of good team play, really supported each other, and he's just a really great guy, really positive guy towards the game. That brought me a lot of joy in this game too, was just having a friend like him, always bringing positivity about Destiny, even when there's, you know, flaws, of course, about the game. And maybe when I'm feeling burnt out or irritated about something, he always had something positive to say. I really appreciate his friendship, and playing these games with him was a lot of fun. Especially with his Titan main powers, man. This guy knew anything and everything about a Titan. If you had any questions on if something about a Titan was OP or needing to be buffed, he would know, because he tests everything. He tries out every possible way you could play a Titan, and he plays it so damn well. I mean, this guy is a support. He revives you. He pulls out his barrier. He's always there to help you. Yet he's also like face to face with the boss at all times, shoving his knee into the boss's face, and it's hilarious to watch. Like, the guy's got balls, and skills. Like, yeah, a lot of fun to do strikes with him. A lot of fun to do dungeons. We would do a lot of dungeons together. As soon as they would drop, I can't remember that one that stands out to me as like the Spire. I think it's called the Spire alone. It's just the Spire. Super cool dungeon where you're climbing the Spire. You got the Vex Hydra boss at the top, and then you got the other chicken walker thing down at the bottom. That was really cool with the cowboy loot. That was a cool dungeon to go through with my buddy Isaac. It was a lot. That was a high moment for Destiny for sure. A lot of fun. Of course, the most recent dungeon, whatever that one was called, is really cool too, where they're trying to, the Hive again, in the story, they're trying to revive Oryx, the fallen king. He was like submerged underwater, his corpse is underwater, and they're trying to do some witch ritual to revive his body, and you have to stop it. Super cool, right? So I think they really explored some really cool stories, and I think there's just so much content and obviously distraction and loot that I think some people even miss out on what cool themes or concepts in the story that are actually there, just because we're so bogged down and so much loot shoved into our mouths. You just can't think about it. So I would encourage anyone to kind of take a step back and think about, you know, what you're doing the mission for. Yes, there's loot to grind for, and yes, there's other things we can do, but you know, if you listen to the story, of course, in this strike, holy crap, Lance Reddick, the intro to the Devil's Lair, talk about perfection. rest in peace, Lance Reddick, but I think his voice for Zavala is always going to be in my heart. He's absolutely legend. So many good, talented people on this team. Of course, as I'm talking about this now, recently, there's been some layoffs in Bungie. I'm not going to get into that, but unfortunately, there's a lot of really good talent that have been let go now. All the more reason to just kind of be happy and farewell to Destiny, because the Destiny that's going to continue is not going to be the same Destiny that's been made in the past with the team that have put the original content together. Not that it's going to be bad, it's just the direction is definitely going to shift. There's just no denying that. And I was really happy with what was created over these 9 years, and I'm happy with leaving it at that. Yeah, so I mean, I just wanted to share a little bit of a history of Destiny with me and what it means to me. This brig here, this is the last one. I'm not sure if I mentioned it already before, but the brigs are always what have ruined me in this strike. I've tried this Grandmaster strike probably at least 20 times, and I'm not exaggerating. You gotta try on Grandmaster, and I would say maybe 20 times almost doesn't even do it justice if you really think about it. 20 times of launching the strike and getting like one-shotted somewhere is extremely defeating. Extremely defeating. And at least half those times was in this open area here. Not all by the brigs, sometimes from the Vandal snipers. But definitely the brigs are a big scary moment in this. And this was actually the first time I ever completed, or successfully killed both brigs. And you'll see in a moment here, when I finish him off, I kind of stop for a moment, and I'm like, okay, what's next? Like, I haven't gotten this far yet. So now I knew I needed to take out the Vandal snipers, because they can one-shot you, or nearly one-shot you. If two charge up and shoot you at the same time, you're a goner, right? There's also the spider tank, or walker, as you see there. As soon as you take steps forward, he'll start locking onto you, and he does massive damage, and can one-shot you as well. So I definitely take it slow here. I do apologize, but I take it very slow because, again, never made it past this area. I was very excited to even just be through with the brigs, so I was not about to squander this trial and get a little greedy, get a little fast. Looking back at this gameplay now, I already feel a little more familiar with the room. I feel like there is ways I could maybe approach it a little closer, but there's no denying I would be risking everything by doing that. And up to this point, I've never actually beaten the Grandmaster solo, so I really wanted to just try to ensure that as much as I could, that I was going to beat this. Time was limited. As you know, Grandmasters are only available for a week before they rotate into a new Grandmaster, and I really wanted my Grandmaster to be the Devils Lair. I really wanted this strike to be my solo Grandmaster. So I really had a week to do it before it's out of rotation, until it becomes back in rotation again. So there was a bit of pressure there. I only have X amount of evenings where I have an hour to commit to running this strike, right? And if halfway through I die, now I only have half an hour to play games that I don't think I can make it through. So the intensity was high. I definitely have other responsibilities in my week that take up a bigger priority than this. And so I was really, really trying to make, a one try in the evening to be a successful try. So yes, I do take it extremely slow. You can see here, Brandy's throwing knife with the kinetic trimmers really shine going against this walker. Like I mentioned before, the kinetic trimmers don't have a fall off, so it does massive damage on those legs. Not so much when he's in his down state, but once I start going on his legs again, you'll see those kinetic trimmers proc and do enough damage to keep dropping his health bar at such a phenomenally far range. So very impressive. It's exactly why I chose to use this scout rifle, and aimed for having this role of a scout rifle. I also did mention though that it has gut shot as its his other perk. So you got kinetic tremors and gut shot, which gut shot, as you aim down your sights, it does 20% more damage to body shot, which is incredible, especially paired with kinetic tremors, because kinetic tremors do scale off the damage that you're outputting. So being a full auto scout rifle, not all your shots are going to be criticals, so it really just keeps a balance of healthy damage throughout a rapid fire shot. You can be hitting them in the body and it continues doing damage. It's really cool. I was really happy with this roll. I definitely grinded some PvP to get it, which I had a good time with. Yeah, just about done, and I guess just a little more. There we go, and the walker's gone. My next video idea actually is hoping to play with Isaac and do some classic Halo Reach firefight. See how far we can go, how many waves we can reach. Haven't played that in a long time, and after going through this Grandmaster and Destiny, kind of just reflection on a great game and what it meant to me, it made me kind of feel like I wanted to go back to Halo in some form of way. And at least off the beginning, I thought, yeah, probably firefight is what would record me and Isaac going through and having a good time, seeing how far we can go against the hordes of enemies. Halo Reach is definitely my favorite Halo out of reflection when I look back. I love Halo series. I love going through them all. Other than Halo 5, never actually went through the campaign of that. I kind of wanted to ignore that one. But Halo Reach has definitely been a highlight for me. And I was just thinking that'd be a fun one to make the next video on, is just capture that for my channel again, for not for views, but just for memory's sake. And capture the fun that we have in Firefight Halo Reach, as I'm sure a lot of you classic Bungie players probably feel the same with. It's a really good game. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. That'll probably be the next video I'll try with my buddy Isaac. It would actually be really cool if my brother joined us too. We could do 3-player firefight, so I might get in the works and seeing if we can time something like that to happen. I know my brother's got a pretty busy schedule, so we'll see. And so you can see here, I'm kind of still scared to move forward. I haven't killed any of the champs. I believe there's 4. I think there's, in total, there's like the 1 anti-barrier servitor there that I'm looking at now. And I think in total, there's a dropship that comes in a little later. I think it's like 3 overloads. I think there's, oh yeah, maybe 3 or 4. And I don't know how to approach it, so I take it slow. As anyone should, I strongly advise. These Grandmasters are not meant to be rushed through. Unless you're experienced, unless you've done it a few times, take your time. You know, learn the environment, smell the air, you know, take your sweet time. You can see the counter down at the bottom. It says I have 14 revives. That means nothing. In Grandmaster, if you die once, you get brought back to orbit. Doesn't matter if you have lives. They mean nothing. So in a typical strike, I think even on Master difficulty, you can use those lives, so they matter. And speed is, I guess, better for a better score in the end. But in Grandmaster, those lives don't do anything for you. You go back to orbit. And so I take it incredibly slow because I really wanted to prove to myself I could beat this. And you can see that I take a very long time to do it. But I end up beating it with Platinum. And Platinum is when you defeat every single champion. And that is what guarantees you an adept roll of the Nightfall weapon. So the getting Platinum and beating the Grandmaster matters way more, even in how they reward you and stuff, than what your score says. The score is just some random silly number that goes down once the timer runs out. When the timer runs out too, it says like, oh, you have no lives, you know, sudden death, right? If you die, you get brought back to orbit. I'm like, yeah, that was the entire strike, dude, so it's not that scary. I mean, it's scary, but it didn't get scary once they told me that. As you'll see, I think it's right before the boss room that it tells me that, actually, which is quite fitting for entering a boss room. Like, you know, the smoke comes in effect, and it's like, you can't revive, you know. darkness area or whatever it says. It's kind of fitting. As you can see, I mean, I'm gushing over this stuff. This was a big achievement for me, so I'm not sorry for it. I'm really happy about this, and I hope it motivates anyone who does see this. For some reason, if you do see this, I hope it motivates you to try this. I think my brother should try this. You know, he's been playing this game since the beta days with me back in D1. I remember back in 2014 when it was coming out, we already played the beta, I believe. I'm not sure how. Was it the 360 maybe? Playing Xbox 360? But I remember him, as a grad present, he bought me an Xbox One. And he was telling me, he's like, because I was telling him, I was like, I don't have money for a console, like, I'm not going to be able to play Destiny, this Destiny 1 game. Like, I want to play it, but I can't. And he was like, no, you got to play this with me. And he got me an Xbox One, which was crazy. Like, bought me the whole Xbox One console. It was mind-blowing. And so exciting, added to the hype of this game, Destiny, and how it was like, no, we're going to play this together. This is going to be a good game. And it was for so many years, you know, with the highs and lows. It was a lot of fun. It was me and my brother's go-to game. We would always play this game together. Sadly, he dropped off the game later on, as did I. I took a 1.5-year break. But I ended up coming back to it with my friend Isaac. You know, he brought me back. He was saying the game's good. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, I realized a lot of the fun was playing with friends. But then there was, you know, your self goals. You got to really set up your own self. Why are you playing this game, right? What is your goal? What are you trying to do in this game? Why do you want that weapon to drop? What is it actually going to serve you, right? You got to ask yourself that. You know, no friend co-op play can really do that for you. And I think that's where you'll get your main source of fun in this kind of game. The co-op play is definitely fun, but I mean, here we are. I'm playing a solo strike, and I'm having the best time of my life. Shitting my pants. Having the best time of my life fighting these champions. Holy crap. There's like 4 of them up there, all grouped together. I really didn't know how to approach it. I was hoping that if I, you know, I get him to regenerate and use his shield, I was hoping when he does that, he doesn't make the other ones immune anymore for at least a split second so I can hurt them, but I don't think it does that. So then I was kind of looking around. That one overload there is the only one that's like away from the bundle, and so I was like, I gotta go for that one first. That was kind of where I decided, okay, I do have to go for that one. And the servitor starts inching towards that one. I'm like, hell no, you're not about to make that one invincible. Like, screw off. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Yeah, my brother and I, we played this game all the time throughout the years, like 9 years. A little less because he dropped off back after Lightfall, I believe. He went back on for... No, not Lightfall, sorry. He did play Lightfall. He did hop on to play Lightfall, and he's like, wow, this campaign sucks butt. And I'm like, yeah, it totally does, and everyone thinks it sucks butt. So that didn't bring him back, that's for sure. But even before that, he played some Witch Queen. He started getting back into it, I think, when Witch Queen came out. I might be wrong on that, but it doesn't really matter. Something around there. And he kind of just played the content, you know, the story, and kind of dropped off. He just, you know, that was it for him. He's played enough of it that he, you know, he feels like he doesn't care to play the game anymore, which is fair. He set his goals, I guess, was the campaigns, beating the campaigns, and that was it. But I could not do that. I could not say farewell to this game without challenging myself to the hardest PvE challenge there is in the game. I had to for myself. I couldn't rest until I did. So I'm happy I pushed towards this. But yeah, playing this with my brother was the beginning of it, and sadly it's not the end for me, but that's okay. It was, yeah, it's just so many good memories tied to this game. It's a fun game. The gunplay is great, as everyone says, but man, the memories, I think for a lot of people who play D1, it's a memories tied to it. It gave a good spark like what Halo did back in the day, where there was a big community. It felt really alive. Everyone was just enjoying a game and celebrating it together. And it started out that way. You know, the community is different now. You know, generations are different. You know, video games are different. What you expect from video games nowadays is different. So Destiny 2 is different for sure. But for me, yeah, tying it to all those memories, man, going through this whole area, going through Devil's Lair, it's such a trip down memory lane. And I know the 2014 Penguin Vito Shmesh of myself back then, he would be, if he was watching me do this Grandmaster solo, he would be like mind blown. He'd be like, no way, how can you do that, right? And so just proving to myself I got the skills now was pretty cool. It's pretty special. And not many games can you say you've committed, 9 years, roughly 9 years of playing to get this good, Of course, I wasn't trying to get good all those 9 years. I would say roughly just in the last year or half a year I was practicing, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty fun. I'm nearing the end here finally. As you can see, I got through those champs. Did I get them all? Oh yeah, the overload there. Yeah. Not bad. And this was like a shock too, because I never made it to the boss room. I've never made it to the boss room. I usually die from the bricks. This was the first time I ever got this far, and I was just kind of losing my mind. You'll see my gameplay's a bit jolty sometimes, and I like throw a melee ball into the wall or toss a grenade where I shouldn't. That's because I'm like running on extreme adrenaline. Like you're like shaking out of adrenaline because you just never have gotten this far, or the intensity you feel. And so see how I'm like entering the boss room area, and it's like you have no time left. It's crazy. And it's like, oh man, here we are, Sepix Prime's lair. How do I approach this? I ran straight to this little room on the side. I don't really know any other safe spot in this boss room, to be honest. All I could recall was that this room was maybe safe. Again, I haven't actually even made it this far, so I was kind of like, oh, I should probably start by fighting the overload, right? So yeah, I began with the overload, and then I wasn't even confident I could beat this guy because the second one's right behind him, and so it was kind of stressful off the beginning in this boss room because I really didn't know what's going to work, what's not going to work. There's so many things that can one-shot you or just wreck you. I remember in this strike there's waves of shanks and drags that come through, and I really didn't know how that was going to go. I thought, maybe I'll get wiped out. But I thought my best chance is this little room, so I stayed in this little corner and used the window here to kind of peep out of, and it worked. I really enjoyed the boss fight area. I think this was a lot more fun than the area before this. Like, that was the most boring, long, tedious, and challenging. It's where I died the most when I tried, was that area before this boss fight. The boss fight itself is quite doable. I find Sepix as a boss, he doesn't really pose much of a threat. He's just a big he's a big Minotaur, no. He's a big servitor who's feeding the devils their ether, I guess, right? So he's not really meant to be a threat or some like notorious evil bad guy who's been killing guardians for years. You see there, that was the freaking captain that came in here. He made me crap my pants, man. Like, I thought I was going to die there and it was going to restart. When he bolted in there, he could have hit me and I thought I was a goner. Luckily I wasn't. Again, adrenaline's pumping. I couldn't believe it. He comes in here and then he backs away when I back up. So once I realized that little gimmick, like he kind of loses track of me if I back up, made him not as scary anymore. After that, I was quite okay with my surroundings. I started getting used to this area, peeping out, killing the drags, moving away from the grenades because those things do damage. My Void Soul, yeah, it kind of gets stuck in the window, but luckily I can keep retrieving it. It doesn't run out with energy until it gets sent out properly. So it finds something and starts doing damage to it. In this case, I think it was Sepix. Yeah, it was Sepix. You'll see here I use my Nova Bomb. It does a crap ton of damage to him. I was shocked by that. For Grandmaster, I was absolutely shocked to see that doing that much damage to a boss. But again, this is Sepix. He's just a big ball. I checked down here because I wasn't sure if enemies would be coming through this basement area and coming up the stairs. I was definitely worried about that. I was worried, I would be so focused here, getting rid of the shanks and stuff, and then all of a sudden, bam, from behind I get stabbed by a marauder. Those vandals with the daggers that go invisible. I was worried that was going to happen because those guys do get sent out in here. I've seen them before. I don't know how many, but they come across in waves like the drags and the shanks do. Captains are sure annoying because of all that blinking they do. I like to blink, but I don't like fighting captains that blink. Again, Trinity Ghoul doing its work. That Volt Shot's absolutely amazing. Called Volt Shot, but whatever it's called in this bow. It's basically Volt Shot. So now we're on to the mini servitors, the immune stage 1 of Sepix, and I got kind of excited there. I was just like, wow, like I'm doing damage on the boss, like I'm getting somewhere in this boss fight. Again, I've never been this far, so it was something I was just like kind of thinking through my head, like, hey, maybe I could do this. Maybe I could actually be a Grandmaster. And it was kind of setting into my brain. I was getting pretty excited, like, okay, things can still go wrong here. It really doesn't take much. But I'm doing the damage on the boss, which sometimes can be the biggest defeat when you're going through a strike. It's like, you know, you get to the boss and you're just doing no damage to him. So to get these little servitors, I found I wanted to send out one of my souls out there to do void damage, and that would get rid of their shields and continuously decay them, which would be nice. So after I get rid of these guys, I think I wanted to just peep my head out there and send off my soul, do some damage on them. At least those two from the far right, because they sure do damage as soon as I peep my head out of that door frame. You can see those kinetic trimmers are sure doing damage on that. Sure love the kinetic trimmers on the scout rifle. Can't get enough of that. And so yeah, I mean, if I bring it up the farewell to Destiny thing, you know, this, as I mentioned, this was the goal I did. I'm happy about it. I'm gonna say goodbye to Destiny. I'm done with Destiny after this, and not in a bad way. I've checked off all my boxes. I've done everything I wanted in the game. I'm happy with the game, and this is my farewell. I think it's a great game. I think it was a great game. Yeah, not my kind of game anymore. There's nothing else. They aren't really making stuff for me to do anymore, actually. I haven't seen anything that brought up enough excitement or hype for me. And that's okay. Games I'm looking forward to playing, again, I mentioned Dragon's Dogma 2. Really excited for that next year. I'm going to play Tears of the Kingdom on my Switch probably next right now, just to beat that. I've had that on there for a bit, and I haven't had time to beat it, so I'm excited to play that. There's also, what is that one called? Some JRPGs I'm actually planning on getting into, like the Mana series. The original Mana series. Thinking about getting into that, and I'm excited to possibly get that on the Switch. Like Trials of Mana, I think, because now there's a remake out for it, so it looks really good. So I'm excited to kind of just not to take a break from Destiny, but actually just say farewell to it. It's okay to beat a game. It's okay to move on, and in my case, this is how I beat Destiny, is by soloing this Grandmaster. So yeah, I'm excited to try out new games and just move on from not playing a game that just sucks so much out of me, so much energy and time, as Destiny has over the years. Again, not really in a bitter or bad way, it's just how the game is. It's an addictive game, it takes up a lot of your energy. Yeah, so I'm happy to say farewell. I'm happy to say bye to it. I'm happy that this was the Grandmaster strike I got to do to finish it off. I'm glad Sepix Prime was the boss. It's very nostalgic to me. So here we are, I gotta damage him some more. I think I land this Nova Bomb. Yeah, I do. And I believe it brings him down to about half. Look at that damage, it just shreds. Absolutely crazy. So yeah, like halfway through Sepix Prime now, and I'm like just in shock. Like I've never done this boss room before, especially like on Grandmaster, and these Yellow Bar Vandals started coming in, really pack a punch with their arc. That freaked me out for a bit. Um, that almost killed me, actually. They do a lot of damage, these yellow bars. But yeah, I was kind of just like, man, okay, I think if I keep this safe, if I, take my time, I don't rush it, I could beat this. And I was getting pretty excited. Like, this is pretty exciting for me. Trinity Ghoul, shredding things, hey? Like, I was so happy to use this Trinity Ghoul with the Jolt Shot. It absolutely shreds these guys. I don't know anything else like it. Like, it's just so cool. Oh! Finally, there is actually something down in the basement. Good thing I was checking too. Those guys were just standing there. I think they were as shocked as I was to see them. And luckily it was only like, a drag or a vandal and some drags. So it didn't take long to dispose of them. But that is exactly why I was checking down in the basement. I was worried enemies would come through the basement, and they did. See that captain coming in here. He's thinking about it. Again, those Arc Seekers, that almost dropped me. I don't know if that was from the captain particularly or it was a Yellow Bard Vandal outside the window, but that was terrifying. There's a damn good reason why I have 3 Arc Resistors on my armor mods. The only thing keeping me alive at that point. That in the safe room. Super convenient that the jolt shots of that bow kind of track through that tunnel. Does some crazy damage. Basement one more time, all clear. Good to go. Nearing the end. I mean, I got halfway. Clearing out these other ads. Not much else going on in the boss fight. This is kind of the entire thing, really. There's not much else that happens. Just kind of clearing ads. As soon as the ads are gone, you get an opportunity to do damage on the boss. Rinse and repeat. So yeah, at this point I had my rhythm. Things were making sense. Things were going smooth. I was still kind of worried something might happen, but also with playing like the normal strike of this Devils Lair, I kind of knew there wasn't going to be much more. There's waves. I was thinking possibly more overloads, which actually I believe there is maybe 2 more overload champions that come out. I don't think I've killed those ones yet. I killed the 2 off the beginning of the boss room, and then I think the ships come in and drop off 2 more. Probably pretty soon here once he's actually at half health. I believe that's when it would be. So now I got my damage. Landing those Nova Bombs every time. It's a beautiful thing. He's already past halfway. You see how that shreds him? It's just insane. I did see a ship hopping down. So I believe this is now his second immune phase. There you are. 2 champions appear. It says it on the side. So that's where the 2 overloads come in. So that's kind of my last big risk, really, is those champions. That could really ruin me if I slip up or mess up on something, especially overloads, man. They can be scary when they blink around like frickin' splicers, man. It's kind of nerve-wracking. So still had that in front of me, and I believe that was kind of the point too, is once I killed those 2 overloads, that's when it kind of dawned on me in my head, like, I'm gonna beat this. Like, I'm actually gonna finish it. This round is finally the round, right? And I was definitely, as you can see with my shooting, like, I'm definitely just in a zone, like very controlled, in a very good rhythm. Oof, almost died there from all sorts of bullets, so glad I noticed that. Again, you could get dropped pretty fast out of the blue. It's happened to me so many times through the trials of doing this Grandmaster. But yeah, I mean, it's just like that Dark Souls feeling. You just get dropped, and then you're just like kind of jaw dropped, like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, right? But yeah, you push through it. practice, it's extremely rewarding. You know, this is like a Dark Souls game to me. It was, and now that I've done it too, I've got to be honest. Like, I'm not going to, like I said, this is my farewell to Destiny, but just like Dark Souls, when you beat a hard challenge like that, it's kind of addictive. Like, I kind of got such a rush off that I actually beat it. It does make me feel like, oh, maybe I would do another Grandmaster. Maybe I'll try another one. And I just stop myself like, no, this is my farewell. This is my bye to Destiny. And it's all good. Yes, I could do more, but man, I want to play other games. I want to move on. This game doesn't hold a whole lot for me anymore, so I'm ready to move on. I have mastered the content. I feel good about it. Just working on that baby servitor again. Kinetic trimmers, no joke. I don't know. They're so awesome. It's my favorite thing about kinetic weapons is having that kinetic trimmers on. It's pretty nice. On top of that, just the design of the Randy's throwing knife scout rifle. Like, this thing is a unique looking scout rifle. It's not an exotic. It's a legendary. But man, I love the design. I think it looks like a DMR from Halo Reach days. It looks pretty nice. And then the fact that it shoots, everything shoots full auto technically, but it's a full auto frame, which means it holds deeper reserves, and it has faster reload when you run out of bullets, like when you expend the complete clip. So there's just a lot of things riding for it, why I like this Randy throwing knife so much. What is it, 2 more baby servitors left? Is that it? On my left side there? Oh yeah, I remember this guy. He would be blinking all over the place. You can hear him too. Quiet enough. You'll hear him like blinking around, and I hear him on my left, and I'm like, okay, is he in the tunnel? Is he just outside the tunnel? And he'd blink around, and I was so terrified this Overload's gonna wreck me right at this end of the boss fight. I was like, man, no way. I'm not even sure how I even got him to get vulnerable, because I couldn't come out there, right? One of the baby servitors would wreck me, or yeah, see, the baby servitors are there, and I was just looking for him. You can hear him blinking about. There he is. Oh, and then he goes again, just like a splicer, whatever those splicers are. My brother would know. The certain ones that teleport around in like the red mist, just like that. Terrifying stuff. But once he's out there, I think, I believe as you're continuously damaging him with overload damage, he won't blink. But if you let him regenerate or start using a different weapon that's not overload, then yeah, he'll start blinking around again. It's a nightmare. You don't want that. But yeah, that was the last of the overload, so I was like, okay, I got this. If I keep it steady, you know, and I don't get dropped by something out of the blue, I should be good. I would say I have a Nova Bomb ready, so I could drop them as soon as these little baby servitors are out of my way. I had to keep an eye on that captain there, because he kept getting out of reach, so I couldn't finish him off, but I wanted to keep progressing, right? But I was worried he would start coming towards me if I'm out there for too long. So you can see I proc those kinetic trimmers and then kind of take a glance over to make sure he's not coming up. Just the last baby servitor left. Really couldn't find that captain anymore. Oh, I think I saw his swords there in the distance. He's behind one of the crates there, just standing there. Look at that damage from kinetic trimmers. Beautiful thing. Just a beautiful thing. So Sepex is available. Oh, right. I missed that because he blinks to the far distance, I think, on that last phase. This might be the moment I was excited to see again. It was kind of a funny moment. for me. So these ads came in right when I was supposed to do damage on Sepix, and obviously I missed my Nova Bomb, for crying out loud, and then he blinks away, so that lost me that opportunity of like high DPS. Slows things down, of course. So, you drop your guard for 1 second in this kind of difficulty, and yeah, things can go south pretty fast, so definitely gotta keep up with it. Don't lower your guard, even, it doesn't matter how close you are with the boss damage. Gotta keep your eyes open and make sure nothing's gonna wreck you, especially these yellow vandals, man. Their arc weapons really pack a punch. You get too greedy, you stay out of that window a little too long, you're done. Reset instantly, so definitely gotta be careful. Definitely get a little more worried when they have those guys out there, because they do so much damage compared to the red bars. I remember that level up totally freaked me out too. I was so focused peeking through the window, and then like a flash of light happens and I level up and I'm like, oh shit, what is that? Oh, I'm leveling up. Fortunately, it doesn't give me a full super like it does when you're in the open world. Oh, and there's Sepix trying to consume me. Classic Sepix Prime. Look at that. He's peeking through the window like, what the fuck are you doing? It's terrifying. Totally terrifying. He's just sitting there. I was like, holy crap. It's such a beautiful view of him. You can get such an up-close view of Sepix. Like, he's just looking in there like, what are you doing? Crazy, crazy moment. Even Sepix was kind of cluing in that I'm about to destroy him. He's like, man, this is actually going to happen. Oh, getting rid of the last normal ones. See those marauders? Those guys are invisible. Yeah, and they got daggers, and they love to sneak up beside you. Oh, Sepix has not left yet. He is still there. At this point, I was like, yeah, I think I have no more champs, right? So, or hopefully don't have any more champs, so I might as well use my heavy on the boss, actually, finally. I started unleashing on him, which does really good damage, too. I mean, look at him. He's getting close to the end here. Definitely getting excited at this point. Check the basement. Never forget. More yellow bars, yeah. Yeah, charge grenades, man. I got weaken, I think the weaken aspect on there for my grenades. Super nice. Really wrecks them, as you can see. Like, this is all Grandmaster difficulty, so again, these guys, if they get wrecked fast, that means like regular enemies on a regular strike are like dust. Just gone. The kind of damage I'm doing. These guys have high resistance to all sorts of things. And your light power is, whatever it is, 25 less? Possibly? I think it's like 25 light power less. It's crazy. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of rinse and repeat throughout this boss fight. I would say there's not a whole lot to it. There was sure a whole lot more dangers in the last room before this, the super boring one. The captain just sitting there. I see you! And I even can proc a kinetic trimmer. How handy is that? There we go. Just a few more guys left. And I have my Nova Bomb set too. You can see how excited I am. Like, just wanting to get these guys out of the way so I can throw my Nova Bomb on Sepix and just finish him off. Man, yeah, gotta watch out for those arc trackers. They do the damage. Even near the end, I start getting those jitters, right? Like the Dark Souls feels when you know you're getting near the end. You're like, man, anything could wreck me at this moment. And I would be so defeated. I'd be so defeated at this point. Last, oh, Captain and a Vandal. Yeah, that's it. Little jump shot there with the bow. Captains love to sit back there. Oh, there you go. One more Vandal. Oof. See, when they all track, that is danger. He loves to hide. He's scared of me. He doesn't even want to fight me anymore. Completely docile. So then I was getting worried because at this point I was like, I think more waves of Shanks will come if I don't just do the damage, right? If I wait too long. So then I landed him with the Nova Bomb. That's it, man. Like, you can see it shredding off. His health is so low, and then it stops. Isn't this a classic Dark Souls moment? He has a sliver of health. I want to get out there and be greedy, right? I want to just pinch him off. Then the wave of enemies come, and I have to step back. It's such an intense moment. I was like, I want this so bad, but I have to be careful, right? I can't just run out there and do the damage, because if I die with a sliver of health, I'm going to lose it. And then right to my left here, look at that. An invisible marauder was about to come and smack me, and I actually caught it in time. In time for Sepix to die. And there's my Grandmaster. Solo Grandmaster. With Warden's Law Adept as a reward too. Like, I didn't care about the reward at all. I really just wanted to celebrate Destiny as a whole and challenge myself to the ultimate challenge. And I did that, and I didn't even think about the loot. Then I get Warden's Law Adept. I'm like, hey, you know what? That's a pretty good reward for this. So, thank you for watching, and peace out.